What's up, everybody? Welcome to Coffee Code and Chat. Really glad to have you here. Say hello in the comments. Let us know how you're all doing. Pretty excited for today's stream. By the way, thank you for jumping on. This is Coding After 30. I stream Friday nights, 9 p.m. US Central Time, and Saturday mornings, 11 a.m. CS Central Time. So if you didn't know, now you know. And if you haven't subscribed, you don't have to, but let's jump into it. And let me turn down the sound a little bit, the music. Let me know if the music is not too loud. And we have Northern Chims jumping up. Not troll problem, but I was kind of thinking about that's actually good. I'm trying this out, by the way, Northern Chimp. I'm trying to see if that's going to help me to increase subscriber count, or if people are going to complain and just be like, screw it, I don't want to do subs only. But I figured since I'm already streaming, why not add that extra feature? So we're going to do some testing, see how it works. What's up, Alex? How you doing? Tammy, what's up? Nice. Time for dinner. Yeah, man. I'm going to eat again. I ate pre-dinner, and after I'm done streaming, I'm going to eat after dinner, my super important meals. But today we're going to be building some cool applications, or at least starting with the basics, because I know I've been building more of a complex projects on my Friday streams, where I'm building my Dev Hunt project that will allow you to manage your projects that you're building, and in the future to be able to cooperate and work with others. And that's something that's going to take me a while to build. And so once I make some decent progress, what I want to do is I want to make these basic streams where we kind of review what I've learned and talk about the basics, just in case if you missed it and you feel like you're lost. But today we're going to literally work on setting up a remix project, setting up Strapi project, combining them together to get data. And I'm building all of this from scratch just because it's important to fail and struggle in the real life situation. I never plan my streams, and the reason why I don't do that is because it's not going to give you a good representation of what coding life is if I pre-plan everything. So that's what we're going to work and talk about. So if you're joining, thank you for joining Coffee Code and Chat. It's going to be a lot of fun. And if you have any questions at any given time, let me know. But we're going to bring it in. And so the first thing I'm going to do is just kind of show you the tech we're going to use. And by the way, I forgot to open Tailwind CSS. Let me go Tailwind CSS to search it, because that's what we're going to be working. So for our tech stack, oh, I took it out. For our tech stack, we're going to be using Remix, which is a pretty exciting front end. Well, it's not a front end, it's a full stack React framework. And what's awesome, they just were acquired by Shopify, which is pretty amazing. So I can't wait to see how Shopify is going to implement Remix. And I'll be curious to try to build some e-commerce stores integrated with Shopify. But today we're going to focus on Remix, which is our standalone thing. And to style our application, we're going to use Tailwind, and I'm going to cheat. I'm going to show you how I'm going to cheat. And by the way, after this video, I'll make sure to save this to a GitHub repo. If someone wants to check it out, you can do it or build on it or continue in the next stream. But I'll show you how I cheat, and everything that I add, I'll make sure to commit it to GitHub. So if you can't get the HTML templates that I'm probably going to use today, no worries. I'll have them provided in the chat. And then I just saw a message that threw me off. Time for breakfast in 3 hours. Jesus Christ, Alex. Love you, my man. Thank you for being such a champ. And literally, I hope you went to bed. I'm hoping that you just woke up early. But so we're going to use Remix to build our project. We're going to use the docs for reference if we need to, but it's an amazing framework, and I want to introduce it to all of you because I've been exploring it, and I really like how they handle data fetching, and it's just pretty awesome all around. And like I said, for styling, we're going to use Tailwind, because why not? Tailwind is pretty cool, pretty neat. And more importantly, we're also going to learn my favorite cheat code for building full stack applications, and it's basically using a headless CMS, and we're going to use Strapi. I love Strapi. Not because I work there. Yes, those of you who don't know, I do work for Strapi, but also I've been using Strapi prior to working at Strapi to build really cool projects and using as a transition to get into becoming a full stack developer. Because the cool part about Strapi, once you know the basics, because right out of the box, you could use it straight up, but once you know the basics, you could do advanced customizations where basically allow you to create a full stack application. And even though we could write all of our full stack logic and Remix, I like this idea of decoupling my front end and back end and having an API served by Strapi that I could power both my Remix application. Maybe if I build a mobile app later, I could do that as well. So that's what we're going to do. And then also I discovered this platform called Shuffle. It's paid to get access to their themes. Do I say like you should get it or not? You don't have to, right? I'm just gonna use it to quickly get some HTML snippets with Tailwind, but you could find any favorite templating thing you want. And what I'll do, whatever snippets I pull from here, I'm gonna save them to GitHub so you could get access to them if you want to try the project out. But we're gonna go through that together. Let me quickly say hi to everybody in the chats. Man, a lot of people jumping in. We said hi to Alex, Tammy, Kelvin, what's up? Straight from Coding Addict. Well, great to have you here. I'll try not to disappoint. Dev Putties, hello. Hey, good to see you. Frank the Tank. That is an amazing name. I love it. 40 over here. Yeah, I'm turning 42 also. So nothing, it's a good age, I know Alex has so much to learn, so little time. Yeah, fantastic. So we're gonna jump right into it. And at any time, if you have questions, let me know. So what I did, by the way, is I created this Remix Tailwind Starter Basic. And normally when you start with Remix, it doesn't have Tailwind out of the box. So I just created a project where Tailwind's there. I'll make a separate video how to set it up. It's pretty easy because all you would do is literally search Remix Tailwind CSS, and then I'll take you to their website and you basically follow these steps. But just for brevity of time, I'm not gonna go through this since I already created the repo for all of us to enjoy, and I guess I could make the screen. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna start with the Remix application first. So I'm gonna take code, I'm gonna copy the link, and I'm gonna go into my terminal. I'm gonna git clone, and I'm gonna clone this project. I'm gonna call it client because this is gonna be our client code. Once it loads, I'm gonna cd into the client and run yarn to install all the dependencies. And by the way, I wanna have a chat, so ask questions, don't be shy. We could talk about anything because I'd hate to just be the one talking. So we're gonna keep at it. Yeah, man, the time that goes by loading stuff. By the way, let me know what projects are you all working. Let me know what you're building. I'd love to hear from you because the most important thing that I learned and still learning that there is no shortcut to getting better at development except forcing yourself to build things from scratch. And this is why I do these Friday night streams to make sure that I continue to practice building stuff from scratch. And I don't plan any of these because the most important part for me is to learn through fail and through trial and error rather than have a nicely prepared tutorial for you. And because it's not going to give you the realistic expectation of what's it like live coding. So here we are. Our client has installed. So I'm going to open that in code and I'm going to bring it up here. And yes, I trust this computer. Let's make this bigger. And then I think I have this extension P. No, I need to do Shift P. Peacock installed. Change to a favorite color. So our Remix application is going to be purple. We save this. And so this is a Remix application. We'll do a quick rundown of it in just a second. But we basically set up our Remix project. We have our app folder. The two places we're literally going to spend most of our time today is inside the routes index.jsx file. We're going to start with something simple first. And you know what? This is going to be our project that we work on together. So I'll make this publicly available after the stream. It's going to be our like open source project. But and we could build on this as we continue learning Remix and Strapi. But we have our Remix application set up. So now what we're going to do is let's go ahead and set up Strapi right away because I want to show you how easy it is to install Strapi and have a working API. And so let's focus on doing this step before we combine everything together. So I went to strapi.io. I'm going to copy this npx create strapi app at latest command, and we're going to do it. And so I'm going to cd, actually I'm going to keep this one running. Let me open shell new tab, cd desktop. What the hell did I call it? Strapi learn, probably strapi learn ls. So we have a client here, so I'm gonna do git, no, not git clone. We're gonna use npx create strapi app at latest. We're gonna give it the name. We're gonna call it server, and we're gonna click enter, and it's going to do its magic, and it's gonna ask us some follow-up questions. So let me make this bigger so you could see. Nice. And for now, we're gonna choose quick start, but I am going to show you the custom manual settings. When you do custom, it's going to ask, do you want to use JavaScript or TypeScript? I'm going to default to JavaScript because I'm not the best at TypeScript, and some of us are still learning. And Luke, what's up? By the way, I love it. I have a job and I'm terrible at coding. I don't know. You're pretty good. I loved our talks that we do. Always nice to have you on stream. So you're always welcome anytime. But okay, so we're going to choose JavaScript, and when you choose JavaScript, you could select SQLite, you could do Postgres that you have to set up, or MySQL. I'm going to kind of redo this again because I'm going to go with the quick start, and you could literally do -- quick start, but I wanted to show you all those available options just in case you wanted to do any particular thing. So we're going to install Strapi, and I'm going to show you how quickly we could have an API. And to kind of do this, I'm also going to open Insomnia, which allows you to make requests to your backend application. It's a great way to test your applications. And when I open that, I'm going to bring it up and show it to you. But while Strapi is loading, let's kind of hang out. And by the way, any questions, anything you have, throw it in the chat. Let me know how you all are doing. And by the way, if you're new to this, you're watching Coffee Code and Chat. On Friday nights, what I do is I suffer through live coding and lots of failure. And then on Saturday mornings, I do career advice and tips on getting hired, anything soft skill related at 11 a.m. US Central Time. But it's going to be a lot of fun. So let's kind of get back to it. And if you're just joining us and if you haven't smashed the like button, you don't have to smash it for me, but smash it for your friends in the chat. And so here we are, my application started, and it will automatically run for you. So when you set up Strapi, this window is going to open up for you where you have to create your first admin user. Just in case if that doesn't happen for you, right, the steps you would take, you would cd into the server folder that we created, you would run yarn build, and normally this is all going to be run automatically for you on the initial setup. This is going to build your admin UI, and then you're going to run yarn develop to put the project into develop, to run it in development mode. So I'm going to do yarn develop. And once that starts, we're going to go back again to our beautiful screen here. And what's awesome, it's like our API is pretty much done, right? I'm just going to create a user here, paul.braslavsky@strapi.io. Monkey1234 seems like a good password. Yep, monkey1234 counts, right? And make sure you use a secure password, but because I'm doing locally, no big deal. And boom, admin is going to turn on. Everything is going to be great. And here we are. So now we literally have an API running. We have Strapi, and there's a bunch of things you could do, but I'm going to quickly give you a quick tour. So our content manager, this is where you get to create your content types. Currently, we just have the user, and we're going to come back to this in a second. The content builder allows you to create content types that you want to display on your website. For instance, you could have a post, you could have products, whatever your imagination desires. And you could also do single types. Maybe you have a page that you want to show, you could create as a single type. And components allow you to create reusable components to use as templates in your content types. Today, we're going to start super easy. We're going to create a new collection type, and we're going to call it page because our app is going to have many pages. So I'm going to click continue. Not single page, it's going to have many pages. So make sure your display name is singular, and this will automatically be plural. Fantastic. And we're just going to start with the most simple thing. The first thing we're going to add is we're going to add a title of our page. And we'll add data later, no big deal. There's other additional options here, but we're staying simple for now because this is an introduction to Strapi and Remix. I'm going to add another field, and I'm going to add UI ID, which is going to be our slug that we're going to use at a later video, but we're going to connect it to our title. So whatever our title is going to be automatically converted to a slug. So I'm going to click Finish, click Save. And before we test our API, what we're going to do is create a simple page. And our first page is going to be home page. We're going to call it home. The slug is going to be home. We're going to save. So now I created a page. We're going to add more data here. No worries. Right now, what I want to do is create the simplest thing that we could do to combine our front end Remix and our back end Strapi and make sure that it works. So I'm going to publish. Now, what we want to do is we want to see if we could query that page. So when you set up Strapi, all the API endpoints, they're disabled because you don't want anybody to try to get stuff they don't need. So you would have to go into settings like I am here, into roles, and let me know if the screen is big enough and you could see it. And then we're gonna make it public to get our pages. And for pages, I'm gonna give permission to find one and find all pages. And for now, we're going to use find one, which is get the page by ID. Right now, if I wanted to find it by the slug, which makes more sense, I would have to use find, pass a filter and say where slug equals this. But if I wanted to have a controller that just gets the data by slug, Strapi allows you to create custom controllers that will appear in this section once you create it. But we're not going to do that right now. We're going to do it a little bit later when we're refactoring a project. But for now, I'm going to save. And so if I wanted to get find one, I would have to go to my endpoint API pages and pass the ID. And if we take a look at our content manager, that's the ID of one. So let me bring back Insomnia here. One second here. I'm kind of getting stuff brought over here. Sometimes I don't even know how to use my computer. Here we go. So Insomnia is literally like Postman that allows you to make requests. So I'm going to make a new request. HTTP request is going to be get request, and we want that request to go to HTTP localhost 1337. So let me copy it. And what are we looking for? We're looking for our API. We're looking for our, did I call it page or pages? And then ID of one. And if we hit send, here we go. We have our data. So literally, I spend more time talking than I did anything, but we literally have an API that works because we set up Strapi, we were able to build our homepage, and we gave permissions to make that API call publicly available. We hit our endpoint, passed the ID using Insomnia, and now we have our data. So our API is set up. That was easy. That was fast. This is why I always talk about Strapi all the time. Before we continue setting up our Remix project and fetching our data, let's go ahead and take a look at the comments. See if there's anything new comments. And if you have questions or don't have questions, it's okay. Don't be shy to leave your comments, your questions, but otherwise we're going to continue. And again, I'm going to save this repo for everyone to be able to check out. So we set up Strapi, we're getting our data from Strapi, which literally took us 5 minutes to set up. And now we're going to work on setting up our application to get data. So our backend works, we know it because, and if you don't believe me that the backend works, here's the page we just created. It just has a title and a slug. We'll add more data in a minute. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to make the request to our endpoint here, and notice we're getting our data here. What's cool about Strapi, by the way, before we jump to our front end, because a lot of people, they're like, everything has to be SEO friendly, everything has to, be good with SEO. And Strapi, by the way, has this Strapi marketplace. I was actually going to go on the website, but I don't have to go on the website. I could literally, within my app, go into my Strapi marketplace and type SEO, and it's going to show some cool plugins that we have available. What I'm going to do is I'm going to install the official SEO plugin here. I'm going to kill the server. I'm going to run yarn add, or did we use, yeah, I copied and pasted. That's fine too. We're going to install. The one thing, whenever you install, my brain froze, jeez. Whenever you install plugins in Strapi, they might add some additional functionality in your UI. So after you do add a plugin, you have to run yarn build to rebuild your UI. Then we're going to do yarn develop. It's going to take some time. Yes, Web Dev Junkie. By the way, if you haven't went on Web Dev Junkie's channel, he has amazing channel. And by the way, I just checked out some of your shorts doing some of the JavaScript tips. Very well done. I love him a lot. Go check out Cody's channel. Really, really cool. Yes, you are able to set up relationships between collections, and we will do that probably today. The first thing that I wanted to do is just make sure, can we connect Strapi to our front end? Which is what we're working on now. So I don't know how, when you jumped on, but what we did is we already set up our Strapi application. We created our, oh, hold on. I got to restart it because it just added a plugin, the yarn develop. So we set up our Strapi application, literally took us 5 minutes, and we are able to have our API already working. And what's cool about it, you're able to secure your endpoints. You could have stuff that's publicly accessible, which is pretty granular. You could really control what functionality you want. You could also do roles for authenticated users, meaning they have to provide JWT token. And what's cool about Strapi, by the way, like I said, it works out of the box, but the power comes from its ability to be able to add custom controllers, services, middleware, policies. Literally anything you could do in Node, you could add that to your application. But we have our basic content, which we're going to build on, which we have a page with the name home and a slug home. And we're able to get it by making a call to our Strapi API. And here we go, it is done. So now we want to take a look at getting this data from our front-end application. So if you're just joining us, what we did is we set up a project running Remix. I'm really big fan of Remix. By the way, Next.js is awesome too. I don't want to be like, you know, one side or the other side. I like both. I love both. So to me, Remix and Next.js are awesome. By the way, Cody and I, we're going to do a stream, and this is why I do Remix here, because Cody and I, we're going to do a stream talking about Strapi and Next.js. A lot of people love Next.js, and so we're going to do it on his channel. It's going to be freaking awesome. And Cody's an amazing dude, really good programmer. So if you didn't know his channel yet, go check it out. So we're going to take a look at the basics of our Remix application, and we're not going to worry about these files yet. When you're starting out, we don't really have to change anything here. The file that we want to take a look first is our root.jsx file here. And if we take a look here, if you're not familiar with Remix, no worries. It's literally just like React with some awesome features. And so if you take a look here, this would be like our main root kind of app wrapper. As you could see, we have our head where we insert our meta and our links, which we'll talk about that later, how that works. And then in the body, we have this outlet. And if you use React Router 6, by the way, Remix was created by the same people that created React Router. And this is why under the hood, it uses React Router. But you have this outlet, and anything that is inside our route folder here is going to be rendered via that outlet. So I could say here, h1 before outlet, right? And let me actually open the app. I'm not sure if it's running here. Is it running? Let me start the client, yarn dev. And let's open it. Pressing the wrong buttons. Let me bring it in here. So here's our Remix application, and here says before outlet, right? This is where let me kind of adjust my screen here, move stuff. So let me move Insomnia off here. Let me bring the code here. And so looking at the code, notice before outlet, this is our message here, before outlet, and everything here, welcome to Remix and Tailwind, hello world, right? It's coming from our outlet, which is coming from our route folders, our index.jsx here. So this is perfect. This works fine. So now what we're going to do, we're going to figure out how can we get our data from Strapi. And the coolest thing, what Remix has, it has loader functions that make it really straightforward to getting data. And before we do that, let me take a look at the chat here. Oh, nice. Everybody's having a great discussion. Keep it going, keep it going. So let's kind of dive into it. And by the way, the coolest thing when you're doing Remix or anything, Next.js, if you're using whatever, the most important resource you have is the documentation. So don't be shy using documentation. And so I'm going to go with you. So I know we have the loader function. So let's take a look here. And here we have some examples. And so basically what we're going to do, we're going to, when you running your Remix, let me make the screen bigger, is you're able to define functions that use certain keywords that Remix kind of is paying attention to. One of them is the loader function, which actually runs on the server. And this is where you would add your logic to get your data. So let's go ahead and see if we could get the data from our Strapi application. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to copy this, but in reality, what I want you all to do is practice typing stuff out to commit it to memory. You know what? I'm going to practice typing stuff out, so I'm not going to paste it. So here I'm going to do export, and this is why I copy and paste, because I can't type to save my life. Export function loader, and boom here. And so the first thing I'm going to do here is do console.log, and I'm going to say this is from loader, and then we're going to return an empty object, which is fine. And here's the cool thing. Remix combines your front end and back end together. So my front end code is being generated by this function, or this component, as you will. This is actually a route component. I don't know the technical name for it, but this is a route, and you would put your components here. We'll talk more about it as we go along, but this loader function will run on the server. So for instance, if I go back to our application here and I refresh, inspect, let's take a look at the console log here. Notice how we don't see anything here, nothing, like we have a console log here, loader, but nothing's happening. What's going on here? So what's going on is that code is running on the server. So if we take a look at our console log run on our server, here's the loader. If you don't believe me, look, I'll change the comment here. This is on the server, which is pretty cool. And so we go back here. Look, this is on the server. What's awesome now is that the front end here is not going to load until the data is loaded. So there's no like concept of a loader spinner. I mean, you can have spinners, but there's no, because if the data is not loaded, it's just not gonna show you the data or render the components, which is pretty awesome. So here, what I'm able to do is we're able to return data from here, and we're able to pass it to our component using the use loader data hook. So I'm gonna import that, use data, loader data, use loader data. I think that's what it's called, from at Remix React. And this is not const, by the way. This is import, because I obviously had too much daycool today. And so now I'm able to access whatever I get returned back from this loader. So let's say we have some message here, hello world. I'm able to access that using the use loader data hook, and now we could console log. This is on the client, and we're going to console log data, which is coming from our loader function here. So let's take a look here. So I'm going to refresh. Now notice here we are. We have this is on the client, and let me zoom in here. This is on the client, and here's our message that we're getting from our loader function. And our loader function, by the way, runs on the server. This is on the server. And then this is on the client. So fantastic. So now what we need to do is we need to get data. And what Remix has available to you right out of the box is literally it has fetch available to you that you could run on the server. So we could, in theory, make a fetch request to get our data. Now you could write all your logic here, but to me at that point, the things, you know, I don't like to having too much code in one place. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a function that I'm going to call get page by ID. And eventually we're going to have get page by slug, but we're going to start super simple. And before I do that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a new file, new folder in my app to organize stuff. I'm going to call it APU. And inside here, I'm going to create another folder. I'm going to call it pages. And inside here, I'm going to create a new file called get page by id.server, because it's just to remind myself that this runs on the server, .js. And we're going to create export a function that is going to be called get page by ID. And this is not quite what we want. See, a lot of people are afraid of, like, you know, Copilot is going to take our jobs. It completely did not give me the right things here. This is not how it works. So pay attention, you Copilot users. It could give you a lot of stuff that doesn't matter. And by the way, we want this to be a sync function. Okay, so we have our sync function get page by ID. This is going to take an ID. And then literally we're going to do const response, and it's gonna await fetch. And we're going to, for now, we'll come back to adding our URL by env. Later, we're just going to keep it super simple. We know our response works because we tested our API using Insomnia here. So we made a request to HTTP localhost 1337 at API pages. And so that's what we're going to do in this case here. Put this in front. And we're passing the ID. So, and what we're going to do, we're going to return the response. Already, so that should look good. So now going back to our index page, let's import that function. Import, and then I'll say hello in the comments once we make some progress. Import. We want to import get page by ID. So that makes sense. And by the way, whenever you see this squiggly thing, it basically takes Remix to look inside the app folder. That's basically what it means. And now, in theory, we should be able to do return get page by ID. Probably should be async. Await. I ate. Must be hungry. Await. Let's actually put this to const response equals await. And then let's do page equals response, whatever. And then we'll just go from here. Response. Spelling is going to be the end of me. So we're going to do this. for now and see what happens. So in theory, we should be getting the data. I often fail more times in the stream than I don't. So let's take a look and see what we get. We get a big fat error, so let's refresh. So here we are. We made a request. We're getting our page. Not found. And why is it not found? Let's see if you could guess. It's because, no, we passed the ID. That's exciting. So we passed the get page by ID. Let's take a look. So whenever stuff goes wrong, we gotta take our time here. So let me remove this console log from here because we're not worried about it. Let's go to our get page by ID by server. So we are passing the ID. Oh, this should be API pages.id. So not .id, but pass the ID within our strings here. Yep, so we are passing ID. That works. Eventually we'll talk about how to use slug, which probably will make more sense in the future. But for now, we just want to do the bare minimum to make sure that we're able to get our data. So let's check our response here. So we get our page, we're getting our page data, we're getting our title. Perfect. So literally, if I didn't talk, all of this would have taken us 10 minutes to do. So what did we do? Let's quickly review what we did. Then I'll take a look at the chat and then we'll go to the next step. So the first thing we did is we set up Remix. So where we are here, so the first thing we did is here we are. We set up a Remix project, right? That we didn't add anything to. The second thing we did is we set up Strapi, and inside our Strapi application, we added a new content type called page, and you could add relationships, which we'll do later. But for now, just building things very simply. But to add actually, let me do that. To add a relationship is super easy. For instance, I'll go back to my content type builder. And what I could do here is inside my page, add another field. And as you can see here, boom, relation. And you could easily add relation. You have has one, belongs to many, has and belongs to many, and has many pages. So, and you could define, for instance, let's put author here for now. Let's go from user permissions and let's do a page belongs to one user. And so this will be, and this should be author, and that will create that relationship. To be honest, we don't need it here, but I just want to show you how easily you could do that. Another thing we did, which is we added an SEO plugin. Oh, did I not start my server? Did I kill my server? I probably did kill my server. Okay. I'm breaking stuff left and right here. And so, we installed our SEO plugin, which is kind of cool because Strapi has a plugin store or a marketplace. Every plugin is free. You could add additional functionality that Strapi may not have out of the box, which you could also create yourself from scratch, by the way, which is pretty awesome. So we added our SEO plugin and we have our page content that we created. And if I wanted to add that SEO component to it, I'll click add to component. And now I want to do add another field. And we now have access to this custom field, not custom field. We have access to this. Did it get added automatically? I'm lying to you. I think there's two plugins. The one that we installed, I think that's automatically added. Let me take a look here. Add component. Add another component. Custom. Add a custom field. Hold on a second. Okay, we're gonna get back to it because I gotta read on how to. To be honest, I haven't used this in a while. So we'll take a look how to use this by checking out the documentation. But let's not get too far yet. Let's go ahead and review what it is. So we created our page and we made sure that we gave permissions to allow us publicly access the page that we created. We could either find one or find many, and we tested to see if our API works before running front-end code by using Insomnia. So here we are, we're getting the data from our API, so we know our API works. So then what did we do is we created our Remix application. Here we are, and what we did is we created a basic page here, which is our route. And now whenever someone lands on our index route, it will fire this loader function, which will get page by ID. If you're just joining us and wondering, where is this coming from? Well, it's coming from the function that we created. So we created a folder called API. We created a folder called pages, and inside there, we created a function that's responsible to fetch that data. And basically, we're making a call to our Strapi API here and returning that data, which is fantastic. Everything works. So now we want to display some sort of page here, right? We want to display a page. And so what we're going to do, we're going to make a basic landing page. We know we're already getting our data, so let's make something that makes our page look nicer. And I am really, really lazy. I don't know about you. I'm really, really lazy about writing CSS and HTML. So I'm going to show you the trick that I use. And that's why I like Tailwind a lot. But before we do that, let me take a quick look at the comments, see how you're doing. By the way, all of you who are joining, thank you for tuning in. This is Coffee Code and Chat. I stream Friday nights, 9 p.m. US Central Time, where I do live coding like I'm doing now. And then I also stream Saturday mornings at 11 a.m. US Central Time, or CST, where we talk about tips on getting hired, how to break into the industry, all the soft skills, or help with your resume, basically anything that's related to getting hired, which has nothing to do with learning to code, because we know you have to learn to code. Maybe I'll talk about the courses I took, but we don't talk about technical stuff on the Saturday stream like we're doing right now. And let's see here. Let's check the comments. By the way, if you ever wanted to help me buy a Ferrari, I know it's a pretty serious goal. You can always donate to Buy Me Coffee, which is hilarious. And you don't have to, but for those of you who want to support the channel, you could go to Buy Me Coffee. And I'm only kidding about the Ferrari, but I put it there as a joke. But you know how, like, it's like the goal would be, oh man, I have to get to the login code. Just trust me, you could use your phone to go to that page. Actually, I'm too lazy, but anyway, you don't have to donate if you don't want to. But if you do donate $2 a month, which is, I know, is a lot of money, and I'm not even joking. In some places, that is a lot of money. But if you're able to like, you're like, hey, Paul loves coffee. He drinks it all the time, and I want to buy him coffee on a monthly basis. You can sign up to Buy Me Coffee on a monthly basis, and you get access to a private community just like that. That used to be free, but now I'm like, let me try this, how this Buy Me Coffee works. And by the way, you don't have to sign up or give me money if you don't want to. Like, please don't, actually, unless you really like what I do here. I want to support it. But anyway, let's see comments. Yep, I love the discussions, talking about courses, talking about stuff. And so Web Dev Junk asks what database. So we are really big on using relation databases. So any like SQL, Postgres, MariaDB, all those databases works. We don't support MongoDB because it was such a small use case of our users that we are now just focusing on relation databases only. So if you need to use MongoDB, Strapi is probably not a good place. And I would actually argue, like, if MongoDB is appropriate for majority of projects, because one observation I made is every job, like I'm on my fourth developer job, every company I worked for, including when I worked with WordPress and PHP, under the hood, they were all using SQL databases. So I've never had a job where MongoDB was a requirement. And so relationship databases, apparently that's where it's at. So let's kind of get back to coding here. So we're getting data from our Strapi application remix. And so now we want to show some sort of data. So how do I take advantage and cheat? So there's plenty of themes you could find, but I use Shuffle. And again, this is paid. But what I'm going to do, everything that I use here, I'm going to save it to GitHub. So if you want to recreate this project, you'll have access to this. But I'm literally going to cheat. I'm going to go create new project. And I'm going to check this one, start creating Flex. And what we want to do, we want to create a little landing page. Let's start with, let's take a look. What's good? Let's do this one here. I don't like how they have their HTML here. By the way, do they have just standalone, whatchamacallit, landing pages. I mean, I could always not copy the menu, but I'm lazy. Pricing, testimonials, logos, sign up application, blog post, content, rich text, call to action. Yeah, let's do a call to action here. Let's, I don't know. I kind of like how this looks. You know what? We're going to break it out. We're going to break it out. So let's go to our headers, right? And let's take this one. Looks wonderful. So what I'm going to do is I'm literally just going to copy and paste this code because I'm lazy, right? So I'm going to take this code right now. I'm going to copy it. We're going to go to our page. Going the wrong way. Go to our code, and inside our index for now, and then we'll refactor later. Inside our routes, our index app routes, inside our index, we're gonna copy and paste the section. So this is gonna break because this is straight up HTML. So we have to redo certain things to kind of make it work. So we need to JSX it or reactify it or whatever you want to call it. So number one, the first thing that is gonna complain, and by the way, I'm gonna remove the style tag here, whatever, it's fine. No big deal. Background position. Just remove this here. That's fine. Okay, so the first issue is image tag should be a closed tag. And by the way, for now, it's not going to display any images because I didn't get those images, so it's fine. I just want basic layout. For now, I'm going to comment this out. Let's see here. This looks good. Another thing to keep in mind whenever you are working with SVG, some of the React or path attributes, they might be written not in camel case, which we don't see here, but those you would have to convert to camel case. So image needs a closing tag here. Fantastic. So div. Yeah, and the reason why I like kind of going through like using HTML, like you could buy, I guess, like React components or use a React component library, but I think it's like a cool thing to know how to take like regular HTML and literally convert it to JSX. So that way, if you find a free template that you like, especially if it supports Tailwind, you could use it. So we're going to refactor that. I just want to see how this looks. Invalid property. So here's another thing. So HTML has class. We need to convert that to class name. So I'm going to do find all class instances and turn it to class name. Boom, perfect. So now stuff should complain. And again, this complains is because I didn't pull those images. I'm not really worried about it. And so I just wanted to get this basic layout here. And then, you know what? We don't need the navigation here. I'm just gonna like factor some things out. We're gonna create our navigation later. So let's see here. Probably could have picked a better example. So this is the nav. Let's remove the nav. So all we want is literally the code for our site here. Perfect. And this is fine. So header, let's remove this. Actually, let's keep that here. Let's go to root. We don't need this anymore. Okay, so basically what we did, because I'm lazy and don't want to write like CSS from scratch, I basically found a HTML template that uses Tailwind, which is very easy for me to take and kind of port to my project, which is something I do because I'm like super lazy. And would you settle for Rolls Royce? Yes, I would. Yes. So by default, if you do quick start web dev, Cody or web dev junkie, it's you have an option to set up SQLite, and then for your production, you could set it up to be Postgres. You could also set it up to use Postgres or SQL locally, but yeah, that's something we did earlier. Yeah, so now we have our thing here. So we have a, like, what would you call this? And I'm gonna simplify this for now. We have request demo, we have sign up, we have header here. This could be, maybe we put the name of the page here. We have some text. So there's a couple of ways like of doing this, but we could organize this data in Strapi. So this could be called a call to action or a header. Let's call it a header, right? And what I could do now in Strapi, right? We'll do the simplest way first. Let's do a super simple way and then we refactor it. But what I'm able to do in Strapi, we're able to create components. And so what I'm going to do to my content builder, I'm going to go to components here and I'm going to create a new component and we're going to call it header. You could call it whatever you want. I'm going to call it header and we're going to put it in our shared folder here that we already had. And I'm going to give it whatever icon, doesn't really matter here. And so I'm going to click continue. And what should our header have? So our header, hold on a second, I have too many windows open. Our header should have, what are we going to call it? Page title. Well, we already have page title. Our header should have a title, or let's call this a heading and subheading, or title and text. So let's go ahead and do that. Let's create text. I'm going to call it title. Why not? Not title. I'm going to call it heading. Heading, short text, sounds good. Add another field. We have this section here. We're going to call it, what are we going to call it? We're going to call it subheading, right? Why not? So we're going to add another text. We're going to make it long text. We're going to call it subheading. Add another field. And then we're going to come back to these in a little bit because there's a couple of different ways to handle it. We're just going to start super simple here because we could make this a link component. And so we could have components within components, right? So like I could create another component, which will be a link. So why don't I do that? Why not? Since we're here, I'm going to create a component. We're going to call it link. Link. Select enter value. It's going to go into shared. And whatever, I'm going to pick the same icon, doesn't matter. And our link component should have name, no space. So it's we're going to call it link and shared link. We're going to make it single component. And we're going to add another field here. So our link could have name. And then our link could have a URL, right? And we're gonna click finish and save. So what did we ultimately do? We basically created a new component which will have a heading, subheading, and a link. And if we take a look here, we have our heading, subheading, and a link. And for now, we're just gonna have one link, right? And so now what I'm gonna do is go to my content manager within my page, right? I'm going to add that component. I'm going to go to content type builder page, add another field. I'm going to click component and I'm going to use existing component that we created. And we're going to select our heading. And we're going to add the header. You could call this whatever you want. And we're going to make it single component, click finish and save. So now when you take a look at our page, we have our title, our slug. We added our heading component, which is basically going to be our website heading, which will have a heading, subheading, a link. And if you're confused, don't worry about it. We're about to kind of walk through how to set it up on our front end to be able to get this data. But first, let's go ahead and add that new data. So we want to have a heading. So let's add that information. And again, this is right now hard-coded. We don't want this to be hard-coded. We want this to be dynamically generated by our API. And so we're going to add a link, which is going to be request a demo. And then our URL, this doesn't exist yet, but it's going to be demo page. Save. And so now we have our page with this additional data. So let's test it out first using Insomnia before we commit to making those changes inside our front-end code. So I'm gonna call the page, and notice when we call the page, we don't get our components here, right? Like, what's up? And so the idea here when you're using Strapi is that we want to prevent overfetching and underfetching. And so if you want to populate nested relationship or nested data, what you would have to do, you would have to pass a populate flag. And for us, I believe we just could use populate star, which is populate all the first level relations. There's deeper population that we could do, but we'll talk about in our other videos. Now notice we get all the data. We get the heading, we get the message subheading, and we don't get the link because it's another nested relationship that we have to do a deeper population, which I will touch on once we get this to show on screen, because you want to work through things one step at a time. You don't want to try to solve everything at once. We know we're getting this data and we need to pass this populate flag. And right now we're going to do it this way, and then I'll show you a better way, but you need to see it this way first to kind of understand what the better way solves. So inside our function that gets page by ID, right after the ID, we're going to add that populate flag. And so now when we go to our Remix application, where is it? Where the hell did I put it? Here we go. Inspect. I'm already inspecting stuff. Console. So here's the data that we're already getting. We're getting our page data. We have our attributes. We have our heading. So let's go ahead and dynamically display this in our application. All right, so let's go ahead and do that. So I'm going to go inside my index folder where we're getting the data, and let's kind of destructure it a little bit. So we're going to, I believe it's data.page.attributes. And by the way, if you're thinking this is nested, it's okay. There's a way to flatten the response, which we're not going to worry at this point here. I just want to make sure that I'm typing it right. Let's refresh here. Data page. Data. Wait a second. Why are you stuck here? So we have page. Oh, it's page data attribute. So it's, wait a second. Data page data dot page. Let me do one step at a time. Oh, dot data dot attributes. So let's take a look here. Perfect. So let's grab this bad boy here, put it here so we could destructure some of the items. So now we want to get the title. After and inside our HTML or JSX, we're gonna put our title here. And then this is gonna be our heading. So let's destructure our heading. We also have our subheading. How do I know this? Because that's exactly what we called it within Strapi. So this is going to be subheading. And then we're going to have one link here. Let's see here. Home. Did I call it something else? Heading. What's the update? Oh, it's heading. My gosh. I got to pay attention. We'll refactor this. Let's just get this to work because I believe that the title, but heading is nested within our component. So const this has heading, sub, heading, from heading. So that should work now. Let's try it. Perfect. So small business is only good as its tools. We're different. And this is, by the way, now coming from our API, which is pretty amazing. We have our front end connected to our back end. So if I go here and I'll go a small business, and for some reason I put a bunch of exclamation points, click save. Now when we go back to our front end application, like check this out when I refresh, boom. So we literally hooked up our Strapi backend to our Remix front end, and we're getting the data dynamically. So now it's just a matter of adding extra features, but basically we have our API and front end connected together, and everything else is going to be just a variation of what we're already doing. So let's kind of go back here. So we also need to get, I believe, our link, which is inside our heading ID, subheading. Okay, we'll handle the link in a second, but this is awesome. So we're able to get our data. We're getting our page information. What I want to do, by the way, I want to kind of take this component and I want to make it a reusable component that we could reuse. So what I'm going to do here, we'll come back here, but I'm going to go inside here. I'm going to create a new folder called components. And what are we going to call this component? New file, heading or header, I don't know, CTA, heading, Jumbotron. I'm going to call it heading, whatever, heading. Let's do page header. You could name it whatever you want. I'm like really bad with names. So we're going to create a component here, page header. And we're going to paste the code that we had before. We'll deal with the images in a second. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to pass data inside here. And then we're going to move the destruction logic that we had here to our page header. Right. And then now what we want to do is we want to pass our page header component that takes data that we get. Perfect. So now this should still work. Let's go back here. Perfect. It still works. But now what we did is we took a component and we made it easy for us to reuse. So let's say if I wanted to make another page, which we're going to quickly do, and that page is going to be something else. So let's go back here. Let's go to Strapi. Let's make another page. So we have pages. Let's create a new page and we're going to call it about. And then inside about, we're going to have a heading. This is the about page. Welcome from about page. And we're not going to worry about the link right now. We're going to click save and publish. So now we have two pages. We have home page and about page. And so now what we could do is we could literally copy this code here, right? And we could go into routes and we're going to create a new file called about. Because this is file-based routing, whatever we put into this routes folder, we have available to us. So let me copy and paste our previous code. So now our about page is going to have the ID of 2. How do I know this? Is because that's what we got under pages. See, our about page has ID 2. We'll do that by slug eventually, but I'm keeping things simple. So we're going to get the page 2. We're passing that data. So now that data should be dynamically replaced depending if you go to our home page or about page. And because this is file-based routing, whatever we put inside that route folder, we have available here. So if I do dash about, notice here's our about page. And notice how it's dynamically now coming from Strapi. This is pretty cool because we're literally have Strapi to manage our content that makes it so like amazingly simple. And then we now have dynamically generated application where we could dynamically generate pages. And this could be more complex, but for now, just showing you the most simplest implementation that we could build on. And so let me take a quick moment before we get the rest of this done. But before we do that, let's create another page really quick, so you could see how simple it is once you start setting up your patterns. So we're gonna create a new file, and we have about page, and let's call it our whatever we want to call it. Let's call it about page, posts, blog. I don't know what else. Let's do like contact page, contact.jsx, and then we're just gonna copy paste the code too. We're gonna create a contact page. It's gonna be ID of 3. We'll change this to slug. Possibly, let me look at the time. We'll probably have time to do it today, but this page will be dynamically generated, which is awesome. So let's go ahead and create that page. But we currently don't have contact page. So if we go here, it's gonna fail. It's gonna say we're not reading the attributes, is because we're expecting something from here, but nothing's happening. So we need to have a way to handle those errors, which we'll do in a little bit. For now, let's do one step at a time, which is let's just add that page so it doesn't complain. So I'm going to go to Strapi. Where's my Strapi instance running? I'm going to create a new page, and we're going to call it contact. We're going to add heading contact. This is the contact page, and save and publish. And so now we go back to our application, refresh, and boom, we have a contact page. But we want to have an easier time navigating. I misspelled contact, of course. Spelling will be the death of me. Contact, save. And notice how awesome it is. Using Strapi, you could easily have a API which has all your data, and you don't have to worry too much about it. So we have 3 pages. We have our home page, right? We have our about page, and we have our contact page, and all of this is dynamically generated by Strapi, which is amazing. So you could build full stack applications fairly easily by using Strapi and your favorite framework, which in my case right now is Remix. So by the way, if you're joining in, thanks for stopping by. I know Friday nights are tough, but I code live every Friday night, and today we're taking a look at getting started with Strapi and Remix. I'm building a more complex application, but I wanted to kind of showcase the basics of getting started. So those of you who've been trying to catch up with my other streams and kind of feel stuck, the point of this catch-up stream is to bring us with the basics of what you need to know. And I will make a repo and share this with you after the stream. And by the way, you're watching Coffee Code and Chat. I stream every Friday night, 9 p.m. CST, and then Saturday mornings, 11 a.m. CST. On Fridays, it's all about technical stuff on live coding, and Saturday streams, it's all about getting hired, transitioning careers, doing all this good stuff. And if you haven't smashed the button, don't smash it for me, smash it for everybody in the chat. And if for some reason you have extra money and you don't know what to do with it, you could always go to Buy Me Coffee and get me a nice cup of coffee. And again, it's only if you have extra money. If you don't have extra money, you don't have to donate or do anything. But I would love to, if people want to support me, that'll be really cool. So back to our application. Actually, let me spend more time on questions. Let me go to my more comfortable house here. Let's see, any questions? Alex says, smash the button. So, yep, so we are able to, it's still server-side rendered at this point. It's not SSG, like static site generation. But yeah, we basically have our database already living on our API, which we set up fairly simply, which was amazing. Let's see here. Yeah, nice. Great question. So not too many questions. If you do have a questions, yes, I need to buy a chair. So a lot of people, like, I don't have my priorities right. Like my chair, like people have nice chairs. This is how I roll. That's it. This is a $5 chair that I didn't even buy. Like I took it from somewhere and never returned it. I wonder if my friend knows it. But whatever, besides the point. So if no questions, let's jump in. Let's make more progress with our application. So we have 3 different pages. So now let's build a navigation for our page. And again, I'm going to cheat, and all these code snippets that I turn into components. And yes, there should be an image here. We'll handle that later. There's no point of trying to do too much all at once. So I'm going to go to, where's my shuffle cheating Tailwind app? Did I close it? Did I really I was like, I don't like Shuffle. By the way, Shuffle is paid service. You don't need to use the paid service. I'll provide these snippets for you from here, but you could use any Tailwind live theme or anything you like. So we want navigation. I think this one looks nice. Has a search bar, which we could use later. So I'm gonna get the, hold on a second. Let me delete this one because we don't need it. So let me grab the HTML. And this is how I cheat, right? Boom, control copy. And so now we're going to create a navigation for our website. So let's quickly take a look at what we have so far. We have our about page, we have our contact page, we have our home page. And I don't want to put the navigation in each page and repeat it over. So the appropriate place for navigation is within the root JSX, right above the outlet. And what I'm going to do here, I'm going to make a component called top navigation. And then I'm going to go to my components, create a new file called top nav. Why am I spelling it out? I should have called it top nav. There's been so much simple. JSX, RFC. And then I'm going to paste literally that code that I copied. There are a couple of things you have to do. We have to close the closing tag on image. Input should be a close tag. And then we could break this down into farther components, but right now I just wanted to kind of load. So images are not going to load because I don't have these images. We'll replace them later. All in due time. Input should be closed. Okay. Sounds good. We have links. So a couple of things we have to replace. So first thing we have to do is replace class names. Class with class names. So I'm going to do Control F, class, replace with class name. And I think that's enough. And then because we're using Remix, we don't want to use the anchor tags, but we want to use the link component provided by Remix. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to import link from at remix run react. And then what I'm going to do for all the hrefs, I'm going to replace him with link. And then all the ending anchor tags I want to replace with link close tag. Isn't this hilariously fun? Smash the like button if this is the most exciting thing you've ever seen. And then instead of href, right, instead of href, we use 2, which we will update here. And 2, because we will want to make this dynamic. We'll do that later. So for now, I'm just gonna do it like this, whatever. It's fine, it's great. So click change. So basically we have our nice navigation. Let's see if it works. So we're gonna go inside our roots. Let's import our top navigation. Okay, and so now when we refresh, top navigation is not defined. Who wants to bet that that's a spelling mistake on my part somewhere? Top navigation. So top navigation. Oh, this is why it's wrong. It should be components top navigation, right? It's our app. Yeah. So now it should work. Nope. Top navigation. Export default function. Top navigation. Why are you calling me a liar? It exists. Index. Root JSX. Import from component. Top navigation. Component. Top navigation. That's correct. Root. That's correct. That's correct. Components is correct. I'm gonna do like a sanity. Spelling is correct. I don't know what the hell's happening. So, oh, did I freeze? Oh, my camera froze. That's exciting. All right, so let me know, by the way, if you yeah, Alex, you should start live coding for sure. Is it fun? It's pretty stressful. Let me know if my face is just frozen or if everything's frozen. Let me try this. This is gonna be crazy. I'm gonna turn off the camera, turn the camera back on. I've never had anything freeze like this before. This is fun. Camera. This works, but this is not the camera that I want. Wow, it's frozen for good. I'm not gonna sweat too much about it. Let's do it with just a frozen picture of my face because I wanna get through this. So what I wanna do is, as long as like everything else works, it's fine. So yeah, let me know. Can you see my screen share? My screen share. That's the most important part that should work. The other stuff, like I'll think about it later. Wouldn't be surprised if my cat kind of like went ahead and stepped where they're not supposed to. But I don't want to restart the whole stream. Let's just power through this. So as long as you could see as long as you see the screen share, like the code stuff, that's all good, right? We're gonna get there. And I'm like really curious why. How is it not defined? Page header, top navigation. I'm kind of curious right now. Let me try to import it here. A lot of times, oops, can't spell. Import. Maybe I just have to restart my app. So let's see in our index page. And that's going to be broken because I have to kind of go ahead here. Let's close this. Let's try this now. Top navigation is not defined. Client app root.js. Sometimes I think it's just like the app freezes and you just have to try to restart it. Let's see, reference there. Top navigation is not defined. Client app root. We're not even using it. Top navigation. This is like the fun part of troubleshooting stuff. My face is still frozen, but that's okay. Root.jsx. Let me see here. we're not even calling it here anymore. So something's wacky's happening here. Because look, the error says Strapi learn client app root JSX top navigation is not defined. I am within the root, so I'm not using top navigation anywhere, and it's complaining. I'm gonna kill this folder, cache, and then I'm gonna go ahead, kill the application, and try again. Yarn develop. Okay, maybe it's happening somewhere else. Oh, top navigation has an error. Okay, thanks. I wasn't paying attention. I assume that everything I do is flawless, Engine Boy. That's what I assume. So top navigation has an error somewhere. So I could take a look here. Oh, yeah, you're right. So for some reason, I didn't rename all the A attributes to link, and I only zoomed out so I could see everything. Good eye. And so here's the thing, like sometimes, like, yeah, you're going to be making like stupid errors like I'm making right now. So now that should be fixed. So I literally had opening tag that wasn't matching the closing tag. There was an error. So that's like one of the issues. Make sure you check your errors. So now if the errors are fixed, it should stop complaining. And then now we should be able to import the top navigation like we did before, and that's gonna work. And not quite what I expected. And that's because I'm too zoomed in. So perfect. So we have our navigation, but this is not dynamically generated, right? And these are not the options we have. So let's go ahead inside. We're gonna make our navigation a little bit more dynamic. So what I'm gonna do for now is I'm going to create const nav of items, whatever. And it's going to be an array of objects, and our nav items is going to have the URL, which is going to be home, and title. And don't forget that that should be within an object. And then we want to have about. Whoa. And we want to have contact. Okay, so nav items will have title and URL. We could always add new things, and then we're going to pass nav items to our navigation. So that looks good. So now let's go ahead and make sure we're able to iterate through those items and see them in our navigation. So let's go to our component. So for now, I'm assuming this is the home one. And there's definitely some CSS that we have to fix here, but I'm not going to worry about that at the moment. So I'm assuming this is the mobile menu here, by the way, which is fine. And this is the one that we want to update, which should probably update both of them, but for now, so, okay. So now what we want to do, we have, let me just go here. We called it nav items, and nothing is passed. It could be an empty array. And so we're going to say nav items.map, and we're going to return this. We're gonna return our link component, and so we're gonna do index here so it doesn't complain. We want to pass a key prop equals index, and then our link to is going to be item dot, we called it URL, I believe, and then for the name we're gonna have item dot name. Is that what I called it? Let's take a look. So URL and title. So I called it URL and title. Path though, I like path. Path sounds better, but it's okay. And title. Okay, so whatever. We could always refactor, no big deal. So now we're gonna take a look here, and it's not showing up. Why is it not showing up? Because the changes that I made were in our mobile menu, which you can't see right now, which we'll fix in just a second. So the fix is easy. Just take this, go to our desktop menu, which I'm assuming is here. Okay, paste that in. Okay, and then the last thing I want to do is I just want to copy this class and replace it here. Okay, let's remove this. Remove this. All right, so now we should have the menu showing up. So refresh. Cannot read undefined reading path name. Nav items. I don't understand. Where is their path name that you're asking? What path name do you speak of? Let's see here. That looks correct. Index, item title. Oh, it's because we need a to prop here. And that's item.url. That makes sense. Couldn't read the path name because that's what we're providing here. So now it should work. So here we have home, about, contact. Okay, that's pretty ugly. Let's fix that. The reason it's broken. Let's move this class to here. See if that fixes it. Didn't really fix it. The cool news, because this is Tailwind, I could just do, I want to have margin right too. All right, and that looks like a little bit better. We could fix it later, but at least now we're able to navigate our home, about page, contact page, about, home. Our navigation works. So now what we want to do, we want to fix our mobile navigation because our mobile navigation kind of doesn't work here. So let's fix that quickly. So let's first of all figure out where the button for navigation is. So this is hidden because this is, I'm assuming, input. I'm assuming this is the mobile nav. I'm assuming, maybe not. So our search bar. Okay, that's that. That's fine. Yeah, my face is frozen. I'm well aware of that. I'm assuming this is the... Oops, erase too much. You fling too hard. No, I just want to remove this hidden. I'm assuming that's the mobile nav. Yep. And we'll fix the styling more because again, I'm just going through this quickly. So we know we have our nav here. All right, that sounds good. It looks ugly as hell. We'll fix it later. There's styling that's messed up. So we want to say if show the mobile menu. Actually, we could move it here. And then, okay, if show the nav. Okay, so let's do, what is it complaining about now? Const show set show react false, whatever. And then let's import React, or I mean import. Yeah, basically what I'm doing is I want to add state to toggle to show the menu or not. And again, the CSS is not perfect. We're not worrying about CSS. We're gonna fix it when we get there, but I just want to have some functionality from React, so that's good. And then let's create function called toggle menu set show. That works. And so now what we want to do is, that's still complaining, there's some bracket I'm missing somewhere. So what am I missing? So hold on a second. So nav, I'm putting like extra stuff in places. Let me see here. So what I need to do is here, right? I believe that's the mobile view. So here I want to have the flag and show. And so that should work. All right. And so, oh, hold on a second. That's not the navbar fix bottom. Hold on, let me figure out where the mobile navbar is. So that's the thing. Is this all of mobile nav? I want to make sure that I hide the right thing. Okay, that's it right here. So I need to put that show here. Show. What the hell? What in the hell? All right, this is, yeah, by the way, if you're like live coding or coding on your own at home, this is sometimes exactly what you do. Is you're trying to figure things out, you figure out where the best place to put place. And again, because I didn't write this HTML from scratch, I stole it somewhere. You're just kind of figuring out where. So now if I set this to true, we should see our mobile menu. Perfect. If I set it to false, our menu disappears. Now this, what's this component called? This is button class navbar burger. That doesn't look like a navbar burger, to be honest with you. So let me find navbar burger button. And then on this navbar burger button, what we need to do is we need to do on click equals what do we call it? Toggle menu. Perfect. So now whenever we click this is gonna toggle our menu. And then we need to be able to close the menu on clicking the X button. I'm kind of curious here. Set show, that's makes sense. So unclick, that worked. And by the way, let's see where that X is here. Close absolute, where's this fixed top nav? That's the link. Let's make it a button. I mean, do we really need to go this crazy? Navbar close. I don't think we need to. This should be a button. I mean, a regular button. And then that button should have an unclick. And then we'll fix the CSS. Again, this is not about CSS at the moment. It's just making stuff work. I'm kind of curious why the SVG is not showing, but no big deal. So here we go. Boom, boom. So that works. We're able to see our menu. We're able to close our menu. Okay, and this CSS looks ugly as hell, so we're not going to worry about it. But we have our home page, about page, our contact page. And the last thing we want to do is actually, let's review what we did. I think as we're at hour and a half, I think this will be a good stopping point. My camera doesn't work. So what I'm going to do is, and all of you that are here and still remaining, God bless you. I seriously love you all. Because my camera doesn't work, we're going to finish this up. But thank you for watching Coffee Code and Chat. I'm going to be back tomorrow morning. But before we do, let's just do a final review of what we accomplished today. So the first thing we did is we decided that we were going to build an application using Remix. So Remix is a full stack React framework, but I didn't want to build an API like from scratch. So what I decided is like, why not? We'll just use Strapi as our backend, right? And so we set up Remix for our front end and Strapi for our backend, and we're using Tailwind to style our stuff. To kind of cheat, I just copied a bunch of components from Shuffle, not quite like one-to-one copy because I didn't use their style sheet that they provide, but that's okay because I just wanted to have a general idea. And what did we build so far? We basically have our backend Strapi set up where we have this concept of pages. We created about page, contact page, and home page. Our data is dynamically generated by our Strapi API, and we are passing that data to our Remix application. And how are we doing this? Inside our, let me close everything here. Inside our Remix application, we have our app folder, and within that app folder, we have our routes. Each file that we create here is going to be a route. So if we look at index.jsx, it's going to be our run button. It's going to be our, that's not, yep. So the index is our home route. And a lot of times, just so you don't confuse it that this is a component, a good thing to do is say index route in our contact page. This is going to be like, name them appropriately that it makes sense. So this is our contact route. And then we have about route. And then our routes are responsible to display the components that we want. And we're literally just passing a page header, so it's easy for us to see. And our index page, our contact page, and about page follows like a very similar pattern. There's more to this, but I just shown you the very basic kind of implementation. So once we created our pages here, index, contact, and about, we have access to this amazing loader function in Remix that runs on the server. And what we're doing is we're calling this function that we created, and we gave it a home under API pages, get pages by ID, where we're literally just making a fetch call to get our data from Strapi. And anytime someone navigates to our page, the loader function runs, and when we have the data, it will render that route and the components within that. And if you take a look here, we have our home page, about page, contact page. We're not worried about the CSS at the moment. We'll fix that later, but we're dynamically getting data from our Strapi application. And again, I'm not concerned about the CSS. I'm more concerned about the fact is we have our backend and frontend connected together. And Engine Boy says, seems nobody here. Yeah, I mean, like these streams do get quiet. And again, I stream mostly to stream coding. And I know Fridays, by the way, is a really hard day for everybody. But Friday and Saturday mornings are the days that I stream. So for me, this is perfect. This is perfect time. And I know if not a lot of people show up during the actual stream, I know people gonna rewatch it. And we have about like 9 viewers, which is amazing. I'm happy with that. Even if we had 0 viewers, I would still be streaming. But yeah, so we actually accomplished a pretty good deal. I know our application doesn't look like crazy. Again, this is not going to be a tutorial on how to write the CSS. I just use some CSS to quickly demonstrate the point. So we have something that's not super ugly to look at. But in the most simplest terms, I want to make sure that we understand how to combine Strapi and Remix together to load data on our page. So we have our Strapi application where we have our pages. We have about, contact, and home. So these pages are generated dynamically for us. So if I change the message inside the home, homepage, I'm gonna remove the triple exclamation points, which I put there for no reason, and I go back to my homepage. See, the changes are there. So the coolest thing, if you're creating like business websites for your clients, you have an API that literally took 5 minutes to set up where your client or you can change the data dynamically. For instance, I could go here in my Strapi application and say, this is the best home page ever, and click save. And now when I go back to the best homepage and render it or refresh the page, look, we have that dynamic data, which is awesome. So what we did today, we set up Strapi for our backend, we set up Remix, we added 3 pages, our homepage, our contact page, our about page. The most important part to remember, the way you get data in Remix is using the loader function, and all your backend logic will basically be happening in this loader function. Now, I don't like my loader functions to get too big, so I like to kind of create a folder called API and whatever content type I'm getting from Strapi, that's what I would name the folder. So in this case, we're getting pages from Strapi, right? This is our page, so we're getting pages. And so I name the folder with the content that I want to get. And we might have a couple of different functions that could either be get page by ID. We could have another one, get page by slug. We could have one that says update page, delete page, or create page. And I would put all those controllers or functions here. So it makes it easier for you to manage. And then whenever you need that functionality, depending what you're doing, in our case, getting data, we would be getting it from our loader function and calling that method here. But with that being said, I know my camera died, so I know it's like super sad that you don't get to see me cry as I'm failing at coding. But we're just gonna stop here. I'm gonna quickly take a look at HTML. I'm gonna quickly take a look at the comments. I just want to say Northern Chimp, Big B420, Engine Boy, all of you who stopped by, jump in. Thank you so much. Pablo, hey, what's up? If you missed the beginning of the stream, no worries. You could always rewatch it. Tammy, great to have you here. Really nice to see everybody, Alex. And with that being said, thank you so much for watching. I hope this was entertaining or educational or neither, but you just wanted to hang out to keep me company through my sporadic crying and smashing my head against the keyboard while doing this. But with that being said, thank you so much. I'll see everybody tomorrow morning, 11 a.m. We're going to talk about this idea of what if you can't get hired as a developer, like what the hell to do. But thank you so much, and we'll see everybody. And I love it. Engine Boy says, coffee, code, and cry. That is a genius name, and I think we're going to have to create one where it's like chat is crossed out and it says cry. I think that'll be cool. But thanks for joining, and remember, the reason why I do these streams where we're building from scratch, or at least I'm trying to build stuff from scratch, is because, and to see that it's okay to struggle, it's okay to fail, because at the end of the day, you all have to do this. You all have to build stuff from scratch, because doing tutorials will teach you how to learn to code, but building things from scratch is going to teach you and give you that experience that you need to get hired. And this is why I do these streams. It's not for like me to get many views. It's for me to literally practice live coding and thinking through the issues that I'm running into and sharing with you what I'm doing and what I'm learning. Because at the end of the day, the better I could talk about the things that I'm building, the easier time I will have getting people to hire me. But anyway, thank you so much. And by the way, I know Cody was here from Web Dev Junkie. If you haven't checked out his channel, go check it out. A lot of great stuff, a lot of great information. But with that being said, thank you so much. And if you want to support the Ferrari fund, you could go ahead and buy me coffee. If you don't have extra money, don't buy me coffee. I don't want someone to like not be able to pay rent because they bought me coffee. But as a joke, I'm like, let's get me a Ferrari or a Lamborghini. I want to see if I could do it within 100 years. Can't buy me coffee, get me a Lamborghini. I personally don't think it can, but it's a good challenge to have. And at the same time, I know I'm joking around and stuff, so you don't have to donate money if you don't want to. I'll do these streams regardless, but if you do enjoy what I do and you want to support the channel, like, you could go ahead and do that as well. And if you do the monthly membership, basically $2 a month, so basically you're guaranteeing that you're going to buy me one coffee a month at $2, you will get invited to our private community, in which I'm going to start spending more time. I haven't been lately. The reason I say that, because that just want to be upfront with everybody, but I do have that community there. Tammy's been a complete, like, a heroine or rock star, who's been really keeping that community going while I was on my break due to a lot of family and issues and struggles that I had. But you could definitely jump on and join us there as well. But with that being said, thank you so much for all the love. I love all of you, and have a great evening, and I'll see everybody tomorrow morning. And hopefully by then I'll be able to fix my camera. Take care, everyone. Bye.